Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a guide to Colleen Hoover. I do want to apologize if my voice sounds weird at all. I am the tail end of a cold right now, and it is a cough, so sorry if it's still lingering there. And I am here to talk about Colleen Hoover. So I know that Colleen Hoover's books have been blowing up primarily because of TikTok. It Ends With Us is on the top bestseller list again, one of my favorites. Kylie Jenner picked up It Ends With Us. Like, everybody's been reading this book. I've previously done a guide to Colleen Hoover, but that is a couple years old now, and someone on my TikTok actually asked me to make an updated version, and I said that is a great idea. I know my friend Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers is going to be doing a video soon for Colleen Hoover as well, because we were talking about how it's just blowing up. Her books are, and I think like 3 of her books were again in the top 10 bestseller list. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through all of her books. If you're interested in reading her books, I'm gonna start with my favorites, and then I'm gonna go through all of them so you guys can listen and see where you want to start. So I've been reading Colleen Hoover for like 8 or 9 years now. Ever since she published Slammed. I read her books pretty soon after her first book. She did publish Slammed indie, and that means independently. She just uploaded it herself and sold it, and then it was picked up by a publisher, and then she does mostly publisher books, traditional publishing, but she has started doing more independently published books as well. She pretty much alternates between independently published and traditionally published lately, and so she has also kind of changed genres, which is interesting because she's always a romance writer, but she's had some creepy things, some paranormal things. So let's get started with her most popular that I think everybody is most familiar with. I will tell you, trying to take a photo of that thumbnail, I almost dropped this entire stack of books. I own almost all of her books, and I've read all of them but one, I'm pretty sure. Maybe all of them but 2, because they are in a series and I never got around to that series. So her most popular, I would say, are these 4, which, oh, I guess these 5. These 5 I would say are her most popular, and my favorite of all time, one of my favorite books of all time, is It Ends With Us. This one is a really tragic story, and the romance that everybody loves really isn't the primary focus of the book. So we have Lily. I actually named my dog Lily after Lily from this book. It starts out when she is on the rooftop after her father's funeral, and she didn't like her father, and she meets a guy, and it's her relationship with that guy. She works at a flower shop, and things progress from there, and it is her romance with Atlas is what everybody loves. That kind of is a second chance romance, but she does currently have a relationship with someone else. This one made me cry. It is one of my favorite books of all time, and I know she said she might write something for her and one of those characters, and I'm really excited for that. But this one I know is also really close to Colleen's heart because it was inspired by her mother's own story, so this one's a special one. I love it. The next one that is probably the second most popular one by her is Ugly Love. This one was supposed to be a movie, and they even had actors hired and everything, and it fell through, which is really sad because it would have made an awesome movie. This one, which is really interesting, is it flashes between poetry and prose, and so the chapters written in the present day are like a normal novel, but then the chapters written in the past are written in poetry form, which is really cool, and so there's kind of this like lyrical quality to those chapters, and it is about Miles and Tate. Tate is the heroine? Yeah. And so it starts out with Tate trying to visit her brother because she's going to move in with him. She is a nurse, her brother is a pilot, and his best friend is a pilot, and Miles is there completely wasted, and that was their first meeting, and they do enter into a friends with benefits kind of thing, and they both have a lot of emotion and baggage to bring in this relationship. Miles especially gets the past chapters, and we understand where he's coming from and what happened to him in the past, and it's really devastating, and we get that throughout the book. We don't really understand what happened to him until we get further into the book, and this one definitely on the steamier side of her books, but I really, really love this one as well. Just the emotions and the relationship. It's not a healthy relationship. A lot of her books don't have healthy relationships, and that's why a lot of people don't like them, but just know going in, like, they're not in a healthy place when they start having a relationship with each other, but they learn to love each other. So this one is fantastic as well. Another one of my all-time favorites of hers is Maybe Someday. I feel like this isn't as popular as the 5 that I pulled as her most popular. This one is just amazing. We have Sydney and Ridge, and I will actually pull out the novella and the sequel to this book because there are 3 books for this kind of series. And so Sydney in the beginning is living with her best friend. She has a boyfriend. She's happy. She sometimes sits on her balcony and sees this musician playing across the way, so she likes to sit out and listen to him. They kind of like know each other but don't know each other. They just like know of each other. And then she figures out that her boyfriend is cheating on her with her best friend, and so she's like, well, I can't live here anymore. And so she leaves and ends up moving in with Ridge because Ridge has an extra room and he's a musician she saw playing. Ridge is actually deaf. He's a deaf musician, and this is a forbidden romance. Ridge cannot date Sydney for a specific reason. It is heartbreaking why he can't, even though he really likes Sydney, and they start writing music together and they really just like are soulmates basically, but he can't be with her. And it's so good. I remember re-listening to this on audio a little bit ago because I read this back when it came out, and I think last year I reread it, and there's just some scenes that are so funny, laugh out loud, and scenes that'll make you cry, and I just love the music aspect. She does actually have specific songs in here that are made for the book, and I'm pretty sure you can find it on Spotify or something. You definitely can find it on her website, and it's just amazing. If you like music, I would definitely recommend this one. So with that, we do have a novella called Maybe Not, which is actually about Ridge's roommates. He has 2 other roommates, a female and a male, and they're really into each other, and that's what this novella is about. It's really short. It's Warren and Bridget. It's so great. If you enjoyed them in this book, you definitely have to pick this one up. And now I feel like a fake fan because Maybe Someday is literally one of my favorite books of all time by Colleen Hoover. I have not read Maybe Now. This one I actually won in a giveaway from her. So this one's signed. I've gotten to meet Colleen probably 3 times. She comes to Cincinnati a lot on her book tours, and I always go when she's in Cincinnati because I live in Columbus. And so I've gotten to meet her a lot. I did get to win this. She does like a million giveaways. She's just such a kind person. And this one, I don't even know what this book's about. It just says it's a follow-up to Maybe Someday. So I am a fake fan. I haven't read this yet. This one she actually independently published, and so I just need to get to it, but it is a continuation, I think, of this book. It just says that it's a follow-up novel to Maybe Someday, so I need to read this. I know I'm awful. I haven't read this one yet, but Maybe Someday is definitely one of my favorites by her. Another heart-wrenching favorite is All Your Perfects. This one is about a married couple, and what I love is we get to see when they meet each other, and so they're both at this apartment and realize that their partners are cheating on them with each other, and that's how they meet, and then they fall in love, and then we get them married. And it does have to do with having children and miscarriages, so make sure you know that going into this one. I know that's a very sensitive topic. I know Colleen Hoover herself did miscarry at one point, so this is also a very personal book to her. Very emotional. Again, I cried in this one too. I really love a marriage in trouble romance, and that's definitely what these characters go through. We do get scenes from 7 years ago when they meet and now when they're really struggling to fall in love again. And so I love this one as well. I just love her super emotional books, and I feel like these don't do it, but the next one, she is known for her surprises and twists. And so November 9, I think, is another one of her really popular ones where there's a huge twist at the end that you're like, oh my gosh. I feel like she does it in a lot. She does it in Confess, she does it in Heartbones, a lot of things. There's just like, oh, Hopeless, like it is just like plot twists, and this is one of hers that she does that in. And in this one, our hero and our heroine meet, and they spend the day together on November 9th. Then they decide to see each other every year on November 9th, and so it's very emotional as well, and we only see them on November 9th in this book. And so we really see how much the characters have changed. We don't get to see them throughout the year. We literally see them on that one day, and people change a lot within a year. So 6 years it takes place over, and things really get emotional and hard on both of our characters, and this one is really great, and I really like how things were revealed at the end. So this one, another one that I really loved. We also have Confess, which was actually made into a TV series. I watched the first episode, wasn't really into it, so I never finished it, but I know that a lot of people do enjoy this one. This one, our heroine needs a job, and she comes across this studio where this guy asks for confessions, and like there's this box for people to put their confessions inside of, and what happens is he uses those as inspiration for his art, and so she gets hired to help him on some exhibition he has. He has like an art show happening, and he's like in dire need of someone to help. So she decides to help him and be hired to help him, and then they start working together. She is a single parent as well, and this one is really great too. Again, a very emotional, shocking twist that happens that you really don't see coming, but this one's really great too. I don't really want to say too much else about the plots of these because it would be spoiling them, but just know they're very emotional. She has an undeniable attraction to this guy that she has to work with now, and I really enjoyed this one. I don't know where I want to go next because I feel like she's got a lot of popular ones, and I'm going to save my least favorite for last because there are a couple that I'm not a fan of. I have only not liked like 2 of her books, and that's it. I've loved everything else she's written, so I don't know where I want to start. I guess we can start here. Her next series is, because I know you all know Verity, so I'm going to save that for later, but her next series is probably the first one I really fell in love with, which is the Hopeless series. And so we have Hopeless, Losing Hope, and then Finding Cinderella, I believe, is part of the Hopeless series. Yeah, it is. So this one is just different characters. And so in Hopeless, we have, I don't want to say the wrong name, we have Sky, and she is in high school. So a lot of her books are more new adult, and then we do have some where they take place in high school. So this one's about Sky, and she meets Dean. It's their romance. I believe that Sky only lives with her mom, and it's really like they fall hard and fast for each other, but there is something that is a shocking twist, and that's all I can say about this. This one I absolutely loved. I really want to reread this again because then we also have Losing Hope, which is the entire book of this written from Dean's perspective, and so I feel like she hasn't done that for any other book. This is the only book she's done that for, and it's really fantastic. Again, very, very emotional in these books. But we also have Six's story. Six was her best friend, and this one is with Daniel. This was the second series that she published after Slammed, so it has been a while since I have read these, but I know that I enjoyed them. Okay, so this was her 3rd book according to the inside, so after these ones, and this one is just another story, an emotional romance about characters from these books. You don't technically have to read them all together. Definitely read Hopeless before Losing Hope, but this one could be read as a standalone, I guess, if you feel like it. Then my first book by Colleen that I had read was Slammed, and this one is a student-teacher romance, and it's not as taboo as it sounds because our heroine is a senior in high school, but I believe she's 18, and her mom gets cancer, and so they have to move for her mom's treatment. So they move, and she also has a little brother that she basically has to take care of because her mom's getting cancer treatment, and she meets the guy up across the street, and he is taking care of his younger brother as a single dad, and because his parents aren't in the picture anymore, I don't remember why, and they end up liking each other and go on a date, and then they realize that he is actually her teacher. And the way it works in here is he's actually finishing his student teaching as a stand-in teacher, and then he's going to be hired full-time, and he like graduated early, so only like 2 or 3 years separate them, I want to say. So it's not like he's like 30 and she's 18. She's 18 and he's like 21, 22. So they're really close in age, and obviously he is like horrified when he finds out that she's a student because she walks into school and realizes that's him, who she just had a date with and really liked, and so he thought she was older. Like I said, I read this literally around when it came out, and this came out in 2012. So this came out 9 years ago, and I was reading it either 2012 or 2013, and I remember really enjoying the story. Very heartbreaking. I have reread it since then. This also has slam poetry, that's why it's called Slam, which I thought was really fun. Then we have, oh my gosh, do I not own this one? I guess I don't own the second book. This is really annoying. So Point of Retreat is book 2, and then This Girl is book 3, and I actually never finished this series. I only read the first book, and I never read books 2 and 3, so I guess there's 3 books by her I haven't read. I am a fake fan. I need to read these. These just continue on the series, so there's 3 books in this series. I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I loved it as much like to move on when I read it, but I definitely want to at some point. But definitely another emotional series dealing with stuff. Yeah. So again, I'm going to save the ones I didn't really love for last. We'll go ahead and go to her 2 independently published books. There's one that I don't think a lot of people know about, and that is Too Late. This one takes place in college. It's very hard to read because our heroine is in an abusive relationship. She has a special needs brother that she is really like the caretaker for, and she has a boyfriend who does help her take care of her brother, and he is really damaged and hurts her. But there is an undercover cop that she is also having feelings for at her school, and obviously her boyfriend might be doing bad things and the cop kind of like needs to infiltrate that. I really like this one. It's definitely a darker romance, but I definitely at the top of my favorites by Colleen, and one I think is underrated by her. Another one that is indie published is one that recently released, and that is Heartbones. This one I think came out last summer, and this one's not my favorite. It's new adult, so they are, I don't remember how old they are, but it is summer. Her mom just died, so she's going to stay with her dad for the first time, and so she's staying with her dad, her dad's wife, and their daughter, I think it was the wife's daughter, and she has grown up very poor, and so she doesn't know how much like her dad knows about what she was going through, and she's staying the summer with her dad and realizes that this boy that she met on the way to seeing her dad is also staying next door, but he has secrets. And again, this is kind of back to her, oh my gosh, there's like some crazy twist happening here. And I did enjoy this one. It wasn't my absolute favorite, but I think it's because I'm aging out of this kind of age range of books, so that's why I didn't love it as much. It's still a great read. I still give it 4 stars. She is really just falling in love over the summer, learning to trust her dad and her new stepsister, and learning things about herself and about him, and it was really great. I did enjoy this one. I think that the next 2 I will talk about are her thriller, paranormal-y kind of books. So the one everybody loves is Verity. This one blew my mind. I loved it. This one is, our heroine is a writer. The beginning starts off with her like witnessing someone dying. Like, it's just, Colleen Hoover's first lines, first chapters are just iconic. And so she is a ghostwriter, and she is hired to continue writing this series by this woman who is pretty much brain dead, and so she is like unresponsive. She was in an accident, and so our heroine decides to go to like her house to meet her and look at all of her materials and see her husband, and she kind of has a romance with the husband, and creepy things start happening. And so the ending, I still don't know like what to believe or not. The ending just like blew my mind, and I still don't know what the right answer was, and it's just so good. Like, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It's very creepy, but I don't read too many thrillers, so maybe that's why I thought it was creepy, but I really enjoyed this one. And then her more recent one as well was Layla. This one she actually published with Montlake. She has been published with Montlake instead of Gallery Books, which is Simon & Schuster, and so this one is a paranormal romance. And so our hero and heroine, they met at a wedding at this like inn, and then like their relationship has been a little weird, so he decides to go back to that inn. Once they arrive there, things get strange, and he meets a ghost. That's all I can say. I did guess the twist in this one. There's a twist as well in this one, but I still think it was a lot of fun, and I really liked that Colleen wrote a paranormal romance with a ghost. I thought it was really fun, so if you want her paranormal, read this one. Different than what she normally writes. And then the last 2, I wouldn't say one of them's definitely my least favorite by her, but the other one that I did enjoy is Regretting You. This one is sad. So this one I would recommend not knowing anything about going in. I really don't want to tell you the premise of this, but it is heavily deals with a mother-daughter relationship, and we get the romance of the mom and the romance of the daughter. The beginning was so surprising to me, so I don't want to tell you like the setup of this book, because I was like, is this really happening? But the daughter does things to spite her mom, and it made me really sad for the decisions she was making. So I had a hard time really enjoying the daughter's character, and then the mom was just going through a lot. There's someone from her past back in her life, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. I think I give this one 4 out of 5 stars too, but definitely different for her books, because I don't think we see a lot of like mother-daughter focused relationships. We normally focus on just the main character, but this one was good. The last one of her books that she wrote by herself, because I'll get to a different one in a second, is going to be Without Merit. This one is my least favorite of her books. Our heroine is a twin, and she meets a guy and has a really strong connection with him, and it just so happens that that guy is actually dating her twin sister, and when they met, like, he thought she was her twin. And this heavily deals with family, and it's just strange, I would say. Like, they live in an abandoned church, and her mother has a lot of problems, and this does deal with mental health heavily, and so it was a lot more serious of a book, and it does have a high school main character as well. And again, I have kind of stopped really enjoying her younger characters just because I am I'm not loving that as a reader right now myself. So this one, a lot different than what she's written, a lot more serious, and so it was my least favorite of them, but this one I know a lot of people have enjoyed. The last books I want to talk about by Colleen are her Never Never series that she co-wrote with Tarryn Fisher. I feel like these are much more Tarryn Fisher style, where they are just like weird, and I say that because they're not necessarily contemporary, and a lot of Tarryn Fisher's books I'm just like, what did I just read? And so this one is a couple wakes up and they have no recollection of ever knowing each other. They've just been like madly in love, pretty like they've been best friends, they grew up together and then they fell in love, and they're in high school and they wake up and don't remember anything about each other or their past, and they realize that they have to piece it together and figure out what happened to them. And it's not fully contemporary, I will tell you that, and it was written in 3 installments. I'm pretty sure now you can just bind like the bind up, but it was releasing in 3 separate stories, so we had a cliffhanger at the end of each one, and I love the first one. I don't know if I necessarily loved how everything wrapped up and ended, but I thought it was really fun that Tarryn Fisher and Colleen Hoover wrote together. They are really close friends. They like to like poke fun at each other a lot, and I liked how they kind of took more towards what Tarryn normally writes, at least when this was released, and that it was definitely like weird, like what happened to them, why did these 2 people wake up with no memory whatsoever of what happened to them, who are they, what did happen to them, kind of uncovering that mystery together. Colleen hadn't really written something like that when this came out, because this came out in 2015. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I don't see a lot of people talking about these books by her. I don't know if they're still even being published. I know like the individual ones aren't anymore, but I think you can buy them in a bind up. But that's something I think a lot of people forget, that she wrote these books as well. And that's my guide to Colleen Hoover. Let me know down below if you've read her and what your favorite books by her are. What is your #1 Colleen Hoover book? Let me know, because I will tell you my #1 is Wherever I Put It, and it ends with us. But I still really love Maybe Someday, and I do love Ugly Love as well, but It Ends With Us is my top favorite. But I'm excited for her new book, which comes out I think in January or February, and I just will read anything she writes. But hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If you haven't read anything by her yet, let me know what you do plan on reading. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.